Welcome to episode 7 of Conversations on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host, Lance, and joining me on the panel today is Hill.
Hey.
Liz.
Hello.
And Sabine.
Hi.
With episode notes done by myself and Catha. So episode 7, the screenplay was done by Carrie Rose, and it was directed once again by Lawrence Wilson. And episode synopsis will be read out today by Hill.
Salene is fed up with the lack of respect for the chore assignments around the mall. Trudy is awake and doing much better, but will a reluctant meeting with a mysterious stranger put her over the edge?
No violence. Peace. We go back to the earth. Grow our own food. Get strong and healthy. Live in communities. We care for one another. We're gonna make it happen, Trudy. You're gonna be a part of it. You and the baby.
So episode 7 kicks off with Bray's hopes for the future, where he does a little speech to Trudy about kind of her role in the future and his plans for like a nice world where there's no violence and where everyone lives in communities and helps one another. Obviously, this is the first time we kind of see Bray opening up in this way. What were your kind of thoughts about like the dreams and plans that he was laying out for Trudy there?
I think Bray paints this picture of a new tomorrow, and there will be enough food and everyone will care for each other. And at first glance, it seems like some sort of utopia, something they all seem to dream of. First Dal, now Bray. But looking back, I wonder if what Bray said in this moment was actually stuck inside Trudy's head much later when she's Supreme Mother. Because she tells Patsy there's going to be a time when we're all going to be together, all the fighting will be over, all will be well, and all will be one, with peace and plenty forever. And it sums up what Bray is telling her at this point. And I keep wondering if this is the dream that they want to keep alive.
I think so, yeah, because if you look at like where their world is right now versus what you would want, like you don't want war and you want food for everyone and everyone to be safe. Like, yeah, that would be the hope for someone. So I think it's just on the nose, kind of like, we need this plot point, let's just go for it.
It always felt like an emptiness, like an empty promise of a future that's not going to happen. Because every time we hear someone mention it, we are then slammed in the face with the reality and the fact that few of them are actually willing to do what it would take to get that kind of utopia. Like when Dal first mentions it, like Sabine said, the first thing Amber says, you think they're going to leave you alone in your little paradise in the forest? Mm-hmm. You know, like the reality is you're not going to be able to have that, Dal, you know, because he just wants to run away to have his utopia. And then you have Bray saying it to Trudy, which is nice, but so far, what have we seen Bray doing to make this utopia happen? You know, and it's just a pipe dream that you cling to and you don't want to face reality and what's actually happening. He hasn't done anything to help the present reality they're actually in. He's just hanging on to this pipe dream of when everything's going to be great and she's going to live to see it. And
well, I mean, that's also they are kids. Like, they don't, like, I think when you're a kid, you know, you don't realize all of the work that needs to be put on towards, like, you know, having a house even, and like, you know, oh, I'm little, I'm going to go to college. I don't actually understand what that means. I don't know what it means to actually be an adult and, you know, grow up. But then eventually you have that.
I think it is something that's achievable, though. I mean,
well, it's achievable, but you've got to work. You don't just wake up one day and, you know, your finances are all there and you're able to afford this house on the mountainside, you know, in your perfect life.
Well,
you know, it's very much kids who don't understand that you have to work for things.
Is it achievable, though? I mean, look at 5 seasons of the show. Everybody's been trying to work towards some sort of future where they don't have to scavenge for food, where everything is taken care of. But look at all of their methods to get there. every single one of their methods have failed to try and chase this utopia. So what if the thesis is that it's not possible?
Well, for me, the ones that actually seem to get closest to it are the Gaians.
And they had to abandon society to do it.
Yeah. I think it also makes you think about, like, what is the what is the dream that you're trying to keep alive? Like, they all want this utopia thing, they've got to work for it, and maybe that's not, according to plan. Maybe it needs to be something a little bit different.
Isn't Tyson say something along those lines? Like, one person's view of heaven is another person's hell?
Yeah.
Like, one person's utopia is another person's dystopia.
Because I would say, like, the Mallrats got pretty close, too.
And even when they were doing things so well, people were still unhappy with their version of the world. You see The Chosen, they're convinced that their version of the world is great. The Technos, same thing. But there were always people who were like, no, we don't like your version of utopia. We want to burn it down.
And some tribes literally did that.
Yeah. So is it even possible?
I think it just, you examine what your version of utopia is. There's a lot of that in the tribe where it's trying to let you come up with, is this right or is this wrong? And I think that's one of those questions. What is the eventual utopia dream of this world? And what would you do in this situation?
You're not being fair, Jack.
What? But a rudimentary science never did anyone any harm.
Giving her hope. Making her believe.
Believe what? That there might be someone wiser and older than us still around?
Exactly.
Why not?
Because
it's like the planets. It's a lot stupider to think that we're the only ones left alive in the universe.
Well, then call me stupid. But for me and the little one here, it's better if we don't believe.
Not that little. I mean, give up hope.
No. Just put the hope somewhere else. Like in ourselves. We're the ones who've got to make this work, Jack. Don't waste your time looking for miracles.
Speaking of the future, we have a scene where Amber cautions Jack about giving Chloe some false hope that there could still be adults out there in the world. And obviously the unintended perils of wasting time wishing for miracles. Just watching back that scene the other day, it kind of gave the feel in some ways that it was a talk about religion, where on the one hand you've got Jack's determined hope against all odds, and then you have Amber's kind of more practical outlook that we need to kind of live in the now and focus on the now. Obviously the subject of religion comes up numerous times, obviously with Tyson and the Chosen, but what do you kind of think about religion itself, and do you think it has a place in a post-apocalyptic society?
I think it was a good move to bring religion in. All these kids come from different backgrounds, and for a lot of them, they probably grew up with religion in their lives. I mean, you can see this later in Tyson, but also soon enough in Chloe, who's actually seen praying, even though she also prays for Bluebell. But yeah, I think a lot of them are at that age where they would just start to question whether, do I believe there's more out there? Or is it just all that we can see? And with no adults to guide them, for some, religion is something to hold on to, as there must be something better for them out there, whereas others probably feel that the death of all adults is a sign there's no God protecting them. And I actually think that's what gave the Chosen power. So many lost children, a lot of them used to believing there is someone watching over them, but also their world ended. Why not believe in a God that has seen the world that it has come to? Someone strong enough that people feared his name. If you need to feel like someone's watching over you, what if you could believe the God you're thinking of is the biggest badass there was?
I feel like that was the setup for Zoot killing him off so early, though.
Yeah.
That was... I mean, I always saw Zoot as kind of like the messiah for the new generation of like life after the adults.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's why he needed to be killed off so early. Is it goes back to the mythos of, we don't ever hear Zoot's plan from Zoot.
No, he does say that power and chaos is the only way.
Well, that's the only thing we hear from him, but we never, like, what are they trying to accomplish other than that? Other
than take over the world somehow.
Yeah. in kids in, Wellington, New Zealand, or this weird city that we don't know where it actually is.
Going back to Amber and Jack, I think, I'm kind of on the fence with how I feel about that conversation. On one hand, I completely get where Amber's coming from and staying practical and keeping her head in the right now instead of hoping that things will get great and things will get better and someone will swoop in and there'll be some magical answer. But at the same time, it feels like she's being such a killjoy because she hasn't learned that there is a balance between practicality and belief, and I think it hits even more when we finally get Tysan and she brings spirituality to the tribe, that you need both. Many people require some form of spirituality just to get through every day. Mm-hmm. It's not that they're living with their head in the clouds, but people do need something to believe in that is important, and and also it's a hint at how Amber has little tolerance for anything that doesn't really fit into her idea of pragmatism, because she doesn't just scold Jack for showing Chloe the radio and showing her what he's doing and what he's hoping to achieve. She takes Chloe away. Like, Chloe's not even allowed to continue or do this because, as far as Amber's decided, it's worthless and pointless. And wow, Amber, I get you expressing your concern that he's putting ideas in her head that might not be healthy, but dude, they were having fun. You know what I mean?
She's a killjoy.
They were bonding, for Pete's sake. He was being nice to one of the children and sharing something with one of them that matters to him. And she's like, nope, not on my watch.
She's actually a great fit for Pride in that. I mean, she instantly says, no, technology, that's from the old world. We don't need that.
I don't know. I don't think, no, she's not against technology. She's against it if it's not pragmatic at the moment.
Yeah. So
if he's using the radio in a way that would help them, she'd be all for it.
Yeah. But because it's not being productive to the tribe at this moment, she's like, no, we don't need that right now.
Poor Jack, though. He was like, come on, we're having a moment. Him and Chloe were enjoying themselves, and Amber was like, oh, I can't have this, no. Do I smell happiness in here?
It's a pram. Prison for Trudy. Why? The baby shots are full of them. It's not as if they're on the top of the locos looting list. It's the thought that counts. It's not gonna be your fault, What's not? What if she dies? You did as much as anyone could. More than the rest of us. Sometimes you just feel, I don't know, responsible for another human's life.
Sticking with Jack, there was quite a nice moment between both himself and Dal. And it was a really interesting scene because it kind of shows a bit of insight into Jack himself, because you see that he's more observant than he kind of initially appears to be. In the scene, we see Dal constructing a pram for Trudy, and Jack kind of notices his expression, and he tells him that it's not going to be his fault if Trudy dies. And yeah, I just thought that was quite eye-opening to come from Jack himself. What do you think about that little discussion, and obviously the weight of responsibility that's fallen onto Dal himself?
It's very sweet in a Jack sort of way. You can tell, I never thought of Jack was incapable of understanding how other people feel. I just think he often chooses to be indifferent to it as a protection, not because he doesn't care, but it's safer to not think too much about it, not care too much about it. That's how you avoid getting hurt, And I feel like right now he's actually trying to give Dal a bit of advice to avoid falling into that pit of caring and getting hurt over this thing, over this girl. He's being very sweet in his Jack way, it's not on you. You did everything you could, more than anybody. It's almost like he's a little kind of thrown off by how affected Dal is by this. And just like a bro telling you, oh, who cares about that girl? It's fine, just have a few drinks. It's very sweet, and but you can tell it's what makes them so different, because Jack can cut that off by, rationalizing, hey, you did what you could, it's not your responsibility, where Dal can't shut that off. He doesn't have that ability to just distance himself.
I always felt bad for Dal because he's wrestling with the fact that he's one of the only people who's really doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, there is this very real possibility. And, the answer to that is like, well, she might die. It's okay. You did everything you did. And I just, like, Jack is trying to be comforting, but I almost, like, he's not really being as comforting as he could be in this situation. Because Dal doesn't have the ability to be the cold robot that Jack does and, like, brush it off as just another day.
And it was the second time that Dal went out to get stuff for Trudy, who he barely knew. I mean, he didn't just risk his life getting the antibiotics, but during Trudy's labor, he was the one to go out to try and find stuff.
All the stuff that Bray should have had.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very true, Sabine. You are right.
Well, it's sweet to see how caring Dal is in that. But when I think about Jack's response, it's something we see later on as well. Jack
doesn't know how to people very well.
No, it's hilarious to see when he meets Ellie eventually.
It's just a bit nice that he did pick up on that because obviously
he
he's
did.
got his head in the cloud with the radio and everything else, and that he picked up on that you could you kind of see that in Dal. That was quite cool.
Yeah, and he's the only one to give Dal credit for doing that and telling him that he did all he could.
I just think it's also because they spend a lot of time together. Like, at this point, whenever Dal's not with Trudy or helping Trudy, he's with either Amber or Jack.
Besides, this is a world where you have to learn to get by without anybody patting you on the back. Like, you're not going to be getting validation from other people.
Yeah, but even Amber doesn't give him the proper validation for that.
Amber's a little busy, though.
Yeah, she's got her hands full. And Dal knows it. He clearly doesn't hold it against her.
So I think that's actually why he's mostly with Jack at this point, too. Is like, when you see Dal, he's mostly with Trudy or Jack at this point.
I mean, you don't see anybody saying that to Amber of all the things she's doing, you know. So
True.
Dal gets it. He totally does. Sometimes you got to be an ass. All you can do is just put your head down and work. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
I've seen the film with this. Well, we had it out on video at home, didn't we, Pa? We had a nice house. I miss it. I miss my mum and my dad.
Sticking with emotions, let's move on to another little touching moment in the show where we see the kids. Patsy, Paul, and Chloe are playing an old board game, and they suddenly miss their parents. It was a quite nice little moment for the kids because we see Paul suddenly comforting Chloe. Yeah, what did you think about kind of how the kids have coped kind of with the virus and everything so far?
Crazy coping skills. Like, I almost want to see the kids who didn't fare off very well. Like, here we have a group of kids who
I was just thinking that, yeah,
figured out how to be a tribe and how to do that. But where are the kids who, like, can't function, like, who don't understand? Like, my mom is gone. Like, I am 6 years old, and suddenly I have to learn how to cook for myself. Like, because most kids would probably be screwed.
We get a hint of one at the tribal gathering later on. The little girl who comes up to Chloe and she's freaking out, talking about, I don't know who the adults are. They're not gone. And Chloe's like, what the frick? And, Amber pulls away saying that, Bray explains
but even then,
her,
like
so many kids, they just can't cope. And you're just imagining that child's life on the street.
But I almost want to, like, I wish we saw that more and not so much, like, at the, like, that one little instance of that. Like, where are they now? Where are these random kids in the street, like, not being okay?
Well, we keep getting hints of them. Again, this isn't really about the world, it's about these mall rats. And so we do get hints of the kids who aren't coping. Every now and then we get to see them out on the street and seeing how they function and how messed up they are. Even season 5, even though I don't really care for that season, gives us an insight into the crazies who are living in the street, who cannot cope, how they've grown up the last few years living out there and are just twisted in the head.
Yeah, but just look at, like, Charlie and Mouse. The moment they come in, we have no clue who's been taking care of them for the first 3 seasons.
Oh, they told you they were taken in by older tribes that abused them.
Yeah, but
So they ended up with tribes like the Locos or the Demon Dogs, probably for slave labor, because they make it clear they weren't nice to us, and they just got taken off the street when they were very, very young, probably abused severely, and this is just them on their own again.
I think this is where Salene definitely needs a lot of praise here, because obviously taking the kids and giving them that kind of emotional support to continue on, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
I'm glad she found the kids when she did. But if I think about how the kids are doing in the mall, I still love that little moment between Paul and Patsy when she says, "Yeah, I don't know when next Christmas is either, or where we're gonna get a tree from." It's like they're still thinking about some stuff from the past, but they're also, living in the now with we have no clue what's gonna happen.
Well, think about it. For children, it's the adults who define what their life is supposed to be. Adults are the ones that tell them what's important for them to even think about. So with the adults suddenly gone, there's no one to tell the kids that, oh, by the way, all those things that you used to be taught to care about, they don't actually matter. So the kids are still on that program of thinking about the stuff that they were taught to think is important, like Christmas trees and holidays, and there's no one to say, yo, that none of that stuff actually matters. These are the new things you have to be concerned with. And it's such an innocent thing, It's just, think about a 5-year-old who's suddenly just like, I don't know what to do about lunch. I know lunch is supposed to come, and I know that it happens. I don't know how lunch happens. It just does, and that's these kids. They know things in life are supposed to happen, but they don't know how it happens because they're the children. And so now they're just stuck wondering if it's going to happen. Will I have a birthday? When is my birthday? When does it come? And
at least Patsy got one.
Yeah. Without her brother.
Yeah, but she's the only kid to ever celebrate a birthday.
Well, it didn't go well, so I don't think anyone wanted to actually.
Yeah.
I think that kind of set the precedent. Yeah, no more birthdays.
It didn't make anyone feel all that great.
As if you care.
Come here. I'll show you how much I care. I'm not going to wait around forever, Zandra.
You will unless you change your attitude.
I've stuck with you. I've looked after you. What more do you want?
For you to be more like Bray.
You're on dangerous ground.
I mean the way he cares about Trudy.
Bray can take a running jump. I mean it, Zandra. I'm getting rid of him. His girl and the brat. Whatever it takes.
Oh, this next one's fun. Okay. The 7 words that no one should ever say to Lex. For you to be more like Bray. Oh, let's talk about that scene. So, obviously, Lex and Zandra, where Zandra tells him point blank that he needs to be more like Bray. Specifically, that he needs to care more about her like Bray cares about Trudy. And obviously, it's a really interesting thing for Zandra to say, because obviously she knows that if she ever gives in to Lex, then that's kind of it. His interest is going to be gone. She gives him what he wants. So she kind of needs to play it very carefully. But what are your thoughts about what Zandra said and kind of her feelings for Lex?
She knew exactly what she was saying to him.
Yeah, she was pushing his buttons. That was calculated.
Hilarious, though.
It was.
But it really does get to the heart of why, even though, Bray has lots of issues, and then as adults we can see them, just that fact that she says that really points out why he is attractive to young women. He's caring, he's compassionate, he's gentle, and this is something that is desperately needed in this world. And even Zandra, who can appreciate Lex the way others can't, and she likes, his big bad side, and she appreciates how he protects her and stuff. Even she requires some sensitivity and understanding and knowing that she'll get emotional support from her partner, and so I do think it really cuts to the heart of why Bray was a fan favorite for many young girls, even though, again, he's certainly not perfect and has lots of problems, and I would never date him. But I do think that she cuts right to the heart of the matter. Like, she does care about Lex, but he is missing this quality, caring about other people, being emotionally supportive, and she just wants that from him. And you can see her frustration because she really does like Lex. Why can't he just have this one thing like Bray, you know? Because she doesn't want Bray. She's not interested in him.
No.
No, he's way too nice.
She's not even that attracted to him. She gets why the girls are attracted to him, but he doesn't do anything for her. So, you know, it's clearly she wants Lex. She just needs that emotional support from that side of him. And she wants to believe it's there so bad. So bad. Why can't you just give that to me and you could have me, man?
Do you think she should have chosen her timing a bit better?
No. Why should she? Why should she walk on eggshells for him? Give me a break. During these first few seasons, he's always in a bad mood. There was no good time she could have said.
That's true, yeah. That's true.
And he already really hates Bray. He really, really hates him. So there was no good time she could have said it.
At least he knew that this was exactly how she could get Lex to keep his focus on her. You know, he wants Bray gone even more because he said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made it even worse. He was like, yeah, now that's it. Bray's going to be gone. If it's the last thing I do, yep, he's gone.
Yeah.
You're on dangerous ground. I love the way he delivers that line. But it also is a good hint at the fact that it doesn't really matter what Bray does. Lex hasn't liked him on sight. Lex will even admit to this later, that from the moment he saw Bray, before Bray had done anything to deserve his distrust, he just didn't like him. He's never liked the cool guys, as he says. And so it's just these hints that no matter what, it doesn't really matter what Bray does, Lex just wants him gone so badly. You know, Bray is such a threat to his own sense of masculinity and power. He wants him gone so bad. And he's almost self-destructive about it, too. Like, later on this episode, you'll see that he kind of ruins things for himself because of this obsession with getting rid of Bray, and by extension, Trudy.
That was something that did make me wonder, though. I mean, he wanted to get rid of Trudy, but why did he want her gone? Did he just want her gone because of Bray?
I do think it was by extension Bray. I mean, Trudy is annoying in the sense that he didn't want her there, but it really, I think it has way more to do with Bray.
Yeah.
She hasn't done it.
No, but see, the image of Trudy with the baby, and yeah, I'm wondering if Lex fears that it's going to give Sandra ideas of a happy family, while he's very much not ready for that at that moment.
They'd have to be having sex first.
Yeah, I think that's way far out of his scope of thinking right now.
He can't even get her to invite him into her boudoir, so she ain't thinking baby with him.
But she does make some lovely comments about, oh, but it's such a cute little thing. And wouldn't it be nice to have a cute little baby?
Yeah, but once again, everyone thinks having a baby's cute until you actually have to deal with it. And you see that the second she has to do anything, she doesn't want to deal with the baby.
Yeah, Sandra doesn't want a baby. She likes to borrow a baby.
She likes the idea of a baby.
Without nappies.
Yeah, she likes the idea of a baby.
It's like, oh, okay, somebody else. And she knows that. She's willing to admit that about herself. She gets it. Like, I don't want a baby. I just like to borrow people's babies. When they're cute. And I think she's just needling Lex because he comes in just to make a fuss. Again, how come you got the baby? I don't want them dumping their kid on me. And it's like, nobody did. You're not even around. This has nothing to do with you. You're just fussy.
Well, it goes back to the point that he makes about having another body in the mall. He doesn't want that because it's dumping another body, and that wasn't the terms of them staying in the mall.
Yeah, but if it would have been a hot girl, he would have been fine with it.
Even if the hot girl was useless, he would have been fine with it.
Yeah. But so he's making the point that they're parading the kid around, and they voted it out.
Yeah, it's just annoying. That's all it is. He doesn't have a reason for it. He's just annoyed by it. There's no rational reason for him to really hate Trudy and that baby as much as he does. He hasn't been bothered by them. He hasn't had to take care of them. He hasn't had to go and get anything for them or sacrifice anything for them. He's just annoyed that they frickin' exist. He's annoyed because he voted them out, and they would have been out, and then everyone changed their mind, which means majority rules. And he conveniently keeps forgetting that the only reason he's even a part of the tribe after he threatened them and chased them was simply because they didn't have a choice and needed protection.
Because they were afraid of Bray.
He's just that big of a hypocrite,
And I think that actually you hit on the point, because he knows that the only reason he's out of that cage is because of them being afraid of Bray. So suddenly we don't have a fear of Bray. Bray is not our enemy, and they can turn on Lex. Like, we let you out. This is kind of, we're going back on what we said, because in the long run, Bray is more of a person that we need versus you.
There's some validity to that, definitely.
Like, that was the whole reason they took him out.
And he knows that.
And he knows that. So
Lex's fear of obsolescence is basically what makes him so self-destructive.
I wouldn't say that, but like, he knows that the only reason they let him out is because they thought he needed to protect them. And when you're not having to protect someone from the big bad monster isn't what you think it is. Now, it makes you think, like, why did we let you out? Should we have done that? Maybe we shouldn't have. Hey, why don't we go back on what we said?
Well, he's not doing a good, if that's his concern, he's doing a very terrible, terrible time getting them to think otherwise, because all he's done is threaten and make a big fuss and be a pain in the ass ever since. So if they ever were thinking, gee, maybe we don't really need Lex here anymore, they have every reason to make him go, because he's absolutely useless to them.
Yeah, but he's constantly going and saying, hey, this is why you shouldn't have Bray around. Where is Bray? He left his kid and his brat. Like, that's the thing that we said we shouldn't do. So, we shouldn't keep them around. Like, he keeps on putting it back on Bray and everything.
When he really should just be trying to make allies with these people instead of, threatening them all the time.
Yeah, but he keeps trying to get them to see Bray as
an evil.
That's what I'm saying. His focus is on Bray when it's really not helping his case.
Oh, it's not, but it does make sense.
But it makes sense to him at the time. Why look at me? Look at this guy. Don't put me back. Don't put me on the outs when this guy's doing this.
But it always backfires on him, because then Bray proves that he was like, his intentions were good after all, and everyone's like, oh, okay, we totally understand Bray.
But that's why the conflict is there.
Would have they been so forgiving, though, if Zoot had been Lex's brother?
I think it depends on the circumstances, we're not there in the conversation yet, and I'll bring it up then, but I think it would depend on the circumstance of how Lex brought his brother into the mall.
Oh yeah, that's a fun discussion for the next episode.
As Amber's food deputy, I'm not authorized to give you any more.
Amber's food deputy. Come on, Salene, I'm a growing boy.
The same's true for Ryan.
Not as much brain to feed.
And Dal?
Not as much muscle.
So let's talk about Salene for a little bit, because we see later on in this episode, she kind of makes a defiant stand as Amber's food deputy, and tries to control the rationing, which obviously everyone is not having at all. But what do you think about the way she kind of assumed that kind of mantle of power? Because she kind of did it in a really adult, preachy way.
She went about it the wrong way.
She did, didn't she?
It's kind of like you attract more flies with honey than... Hold on, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, she just went about it the wrong way. And she got what she was kind of deserving, I guess. Like, you can't do that to a group of kids. Like, they're hungry, and the conversation went south very fast.
Pitsy had a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
She did. I feel bad for Salene. She's trying to be logical with them. She's trying to be positive. Let's just do this all together. She's pointing out the fallacy in their logic. That's exactly what I've done at her age, because I wouldn't have had that kind of experience in getting a bunch of people on board with something they don't want to do. So yeah, at 15, I probably would have presented the situation exactly the way Salene did, and felt really, really helpless when I couldn't get through to them. But it also sets the stage for how clever the ladies have to be later, which I think is awesome. Because these kids aren't listening to logic, so you have to get manipulative.
I had to laugh about Zandra instantly taking Lex's side, though, because it's so obviously in her favor to do what Lex wants. Plus, it gets her out of getting her hands dirty.
I think it's interesting that you see is that even the most level-headed members of the tribe in this moment refuse to be logical about it. Like, you got Dal, you got Jack. You'd think they'd be smarter than this, you know what I mean? But even they're like, I don't care, I just want to eat, I don't care about dishes. Like, wow, you're all a pain in the ass, every single one of you.
But that, it goes back to being kids, too. Like,
exactly.
You're a kid, your mom clears the table, like, they do the dishes. Who would have thought if you left dishes out with food, you would get rats and things? Like, it doesn't cross your mind because you haven't had to deal with that at, 12 or whatever have you.
Or maybe you have, it's just without you have to do it.
Exactly. Like, I don't think any of our parents would have let, the rats come into the house. Like, I know my mom wouldn't. Like, there was never, dishes in the sink. So you were never put to the extreme that they were of having a massive amount of people and a massive amount of empty dishes.
I want to say that I would be super secure about the dishes, right? I want to say that. I want to say I'd be like Salene and I'd recognize this needs to be done because I was an oldest child and the dishes were my duty. I had to do them every night. My mom was a taskmaster about those dishes. If I didn't do them right, she would wake me up at 2 a.m. and make me do them again. You know what I mean? Like, I was a dish girl. But when I moved out on my own and there's no one to tell me to do the dishes, I got so bad at not cleaning my dishes that instead I would just buy more. And so my sink, the counter, everything was full of dirty dishes. I would just go out and buy more pots and pans, more. Because there was a creature living in my sink. I think it was like the aliens from Star Wars. But anyway, it was there. And that was a grown woman who knew how to take care of the stuff and that I needed to. But the minute I was on my own and I didn't have to.
And that's why they invented dollar stores.
But I mean, that's kind of like the point they're making is like these kids are forced to do it themselves and there's nobody telling them to do it. And this is what happens.
Yep.
This is the life lesson we learn.
Eventually.
Yeah. So, but I do think Salene kind of went about it the wrong way. That's just my point.
No, I agree with you. I think because she doesn't have the experience, of dealing with a group of people, how do you get them to get on board? I would handle it so different now than I would have at 15.
She's trying bribery with you have to do this because otherwise you can't have food. On a lot of people, that would work.
But I think with the group that's in the Mallrats, when you give people absolutes, especially that group, it backfires on you. Like, we have to do this. No, we don't.
I don't think that Salene expected someone as sane as Dal to agree with Lex on this.
Yeah. She didn't read her audience.
She assumed
she definitely didn't.
That's all.
Yeah, she assumed she'd have more support.
And I totally understand why she did. She's being completely logical about the situation, but dealing with a bunch of hungry kids who she's no authority.
If Amber said the same thing, she would probably have gotten away with it.
She might have gotten Dal and Jack definitely on her side, and I think she would have had Salene and most likely the kids. And then you would have had Zandra who would be waffling a little bit. But, Salene hasn't got her XP up yet.
Yeah. Salene would have probably been able to get Zandra to dry dishes, just not clean them. Touch clean plates, sure. Dirty plates, no way.
You've all been great. Taking care of me and the baby, of course. Look, she's awake. Go to Mommy, sweetheart. Isn't she just the cutest thing? You're so lucky. Aren't I?
Moving on to Trudy. Obviously, we see her recovering throughout the episode. And there's obviously a telling moment where she finally gets to hold her baby and obviously reflects sarcastically at just how lucky she is. Just looking back on that little scene, did anyone catch that she was having serious issues with the baby? Or did it kind of go over your head back then?
Hillary dumb. Hillary didn't know.
I did, but for me, Trudy not wanting to hold the baby, not wanting her near her instantly, it just obviously seemed like she didn't feel the connection there, that something's wrong, this baby feels like a burden to her. And I still think if Bray really was the baby's father, she would have probably shown more affection, but it just seems as if the baby is a reminder of something bad. And then, later on when you see Trudy and Bray arguing about someone she doesn't like, that wants to see her, and it's someone Bray saw yesterday, it becomes instant, at least to me, it became instantly clear that the one who wants to see her is Zoot. And why would Zoot beg to see Trudy? She doesn't like him. She doesn't like the baby. So, for me, that was actually the thing that made me wonder if Zoot could be the baby's dad.
When I saw the look on her face, my heart went out to her immediately. I wasn't a mother yet, but I had, experienced through friends and family postpartum depression, and understood the fallacy that every mother immediately feels a connection to their child, and that if you don't, you're going to be a bad mother and all that crap. So the minute I saw that look on her face, I got it. I understood right away what this young girl must be thinking, and just the thought that this new being in life now requires you for everything, let alone the fact that she most likely didn't want to be a mother. This wasn't planned, and this is the end of the world. It's the worst situation she could ever dream of, being a parent, and now your every thought is going to be consumed by this new person. Nothing you will ever do ever again will be just yours. They will always require you, and just that fear, the anxiety that comes with it. You didn't ask for this. You didn't really want it. Hey, even when you do want it, even when you plan down to the number, like, I want this baby, this is how I'm going to do it, I can't wait. You can still have that moment where you have the child and the reality of it hits you, and you're not feeling that connection that the movies and the books and the magazines all told you should feel, and you immediately feel like there's something wrong with you for not feeling it, and the fact that she refuses to hold the baby is almost a sense of, if I don't hold her, I don't have to take on that responsibility that's waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just put it off a little longer. Because you'll notice Bray doesn't hold her either, He avoids holding the baby as well. And when he comes back, when Amber finds him watching over Trudy while she's still recovering, and, she's checking in on him, are you okay, and all that stuff. And she's like, don't you want to see your daughter? And he gives that shady look, and, oh, I'm sure she's fine, and he immediately deflects. Even he doesn't want to carry the responsibility. Even he's trying to find a way to avoid it as long as possible, so he can get someone else into the picture.
That also probably has to deal with, like, them being so young as well. Like, shit, like, I'm a kid myself, having to now deal with a kid. Maybe if I don't hold it, it will just go away.
Just go away.
That's got to be hard. Like, I'm 31 years old. I don't want a kid. If I wound up with a kid, I'd just be like, maybe if we leave it here, it will disappear. Like,
you know where to send it.
Heck, when my ex-husband and I were dealing with our child early in the days, we had moments like that. We'd laugh about them, of course, where the baby would just be screaming, and we would just throw him in the nursery and shut the door and be like, maybe we just hide, it'll stop.
Yeah, and, like, this is an adult. Like, have those feelings, like, at 14. Especially when you're having a hard time coping with having to deal with yourself. I can't even imagine.
Not only is she a teen mom, but she's a teen mom
without a mom.
Without a mom, without grandparents to fall back on.
Without any stability whatsoever.
Yeah.
She's basically standing on the beach as the tide is going out and the sand is shifting under her feet.
And then there's someone like Lex trying to push her towards the sea.
Exactly.
But I mean, that also goes back to the whole, like, yes, it's a support system to deal with this child that we don't really know how to deal with. But once again, it's a child. We don't know how to deal with it. We can barely provide for ourselves. Now we have to look after this baby that, we were just babies not too long ago ourselves.
There's also a weird feeling after you've carried a baby inside of you. You think it's hard enough when you have them inside, but it's once they're born, it suddenly hits you that they were in a safe little compartment that did everything for you. You know what I mean? All you had to do is carry the compartment. You didn't have to do anything else. And all of a sudden they're not in that compartment, and it hits you like you have to do everything now. And you're just like, wow, I would really rather be pregnant again, as much as that sucked.
Nope, never had that thought.
I did. I totally did. I was like, this was so much easier when you were just kind of a part of me.
I think that, for me, it might be because my pregnancy was just pure hell. So, I was glad to be done with that.
Okay, this is nitpicking, but dude, will somebody give this girl a change of clothes? Oh my goodness. I'm sitting there like, Trudy is wearing the same clothes that she gave birth in, okay, that her water broken. She's been in these sheets where she's been sick for days. They've been talking about how bad she has been sweating. She got an infection from, low, bad hygiene, and nobody has given this child a sponge bath. I'm like, she must smell so bad. She must be so gross. She must feel so disgusting.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, though. Like, yeah.
If you have Salene referring to the baby starting to smell, and as you say, why don't they realize that Trudy's starting to smell as well?
It's how she got the friggin' infection,
I'm pretty
guys.
sure at this point everyone can't smell it because they all stink too, though. Because think about it, we don't see people changing their clothes that often, at all.
Apart from Zandra.
Sandra had plenty of clothes.
Yeah,
Zandra's the only one who really.
Zandra's the only one. And I mean, she's hanging out with Lex and Ryan, who probably smelled just as ripe as everyone else.
I don't know. Have you smelled a room after a woman gave birth? Just saying. I'm just saying. Kind of tops things.
Yep.
Though I don't want to know what menswear smells with Lex and Ryan sleeping in there.
Well, just imagine walking in to a room full of nerds that have been doing Dance Dance Revolution. And that was probably the smell Lex has. And Ryan.
Especially since Lex is dependent on wearing those leather pants. Like, Lex, sweetie, they don't breathe. Take them off.
Yeah, he wants to.
Moving on from smell. Let's go to obviously our final thoughts on the episode. Where we obviously have a little mini cliffhanger where we see Bray meeting none other than Zoot. Obviously, I know Sabine pieced together the puzzle already, but what was everyone's thoughts about that sudden meeting between the two in the mall?
That was a good cliffhanger. It was a really smart way to use the information we've been given, and it's just enough to make you once again wonder if Lex is right to be so distrustful of Bray, because now he's bringing the leader of the Locos into the mall, and I mean, you don't want to believe it's to be for something bad, but you're like, dude, what is going on? It's a really nice cliffhanger, and I love the way Zoot walks in with his head down so he can reveal himself. I love the dramatic reveal everyone does with the rose.
This was one of those episodes that felt shorter than it actually is. And then you get a cliffhanger and you're just like, what? Like I was watching it the other night, and YouTube, lovely YouTube, and all of the ads, and then all of a sudden it came up where I was like, oh, it's an ad. And then I was like, oh no, that's the end. Where did that come from?
But something about that ending, though, a moment just before that, you have Lex threatening to harm Bray towards Trudy, and that's actually why she agrees to see Zoot. She doesn't want to see Zoot, but her fear of what Lex will do to Bray is bigger than her fear of Zoot.
Well, I mean, I think she's trying to keep her options open, too, of having someplace to go if they do kick her out, Yeah,
because she doesn't know how much influence Lex has over the others.
And I mean, they've already said that they're on their way out. She knows they've been voted out. So I think she is trying to keep her options open. And I think that's a very real fear for Trudy, that Lex will kick them out and she needs to have someplace to go. So if Zoot wants them back, sure, let's talk to him, sweet him up, see what happens.
And she also does have a reason to believe that she'd be on her own, because she says, Bray invited me. And Lex doesn't say that Bray isn't welcome, he just says some of us didn't want him either. So he's reaffirming that Bray has a place in the tribe, but she doesn't. So there's no guarantee for her that Bray would leave with her and make sure she was okay. She does need to make sure she has something to fall back on. Especially with a friggin' baby.
I just thought it was funny, because she tells Bray she doesn't want to see him, and the moment Lex starts threatening to hurt his pretty face, she's suddenly going, okay, I'll see him.
Bray should have been more suspicious of that.
Yeah.
He's the idiot, because it's obvious she just changed her mind out of nowhere. He just caught Lex in the room. Come on. She
he was a little oblivious to that.
But see, that proves how much Bray wants
I was going to say, he's not oblivious. He knew, but he was just so wanting to push her away so quickly. Yeah.
Yes, good. She agreed. Which again makes me feel so bad for Trudy. But I kind of wonder, is it just me, or do you ever get the sense that Lex is actually physically afraid of Bray? Not just emotionally, but physically? Because think about it. He goes into the room and he sees that Bray is there with Trudy, so he plays really nice and sweet and then leaves the room. But when he comes back and Bray's gone, he lets it, how he really feels. And she's like, what? You've changed your tune. He's, that was just for Bray.
I almost wonder if he's figured out what we've figured out at this point, is that maybe someone like Bray isn't the father. Maybe there's a bigger dog in the fight, and he could potentially come back for the kid, and cause issues for him.
Well, if he had that idea, why wouldn't he suspect that of Zoot?
Yeah,
but he never does. He never suspects that might be why Zoot's there. So I don't think
they realized that was Zoot though until.
Oh, he knew it was Zoot. He could see him. They said it was the Locos.
They said exactly it was the Locos.
But Lex met up with Zoot.
And they can see him completely.
Lex and Ryan met up with Zoot. Sandra was there.
I know, but
he knows what he looks. He even says, "You're not so big without your group." Again, that's next episode. Not going there, but I'm just saying he knew it was Zoot.
On the subject of Lex kind of being afraid of Bray, I do think he hasn't. I think he's been spending a lot of time trying to suss him out. And I don't think he knows if he can physically take him yet. I think that's
I don't think he has the full idea of what he's dealing with.
That Lex has Ryan to support him. Bray has everyone else. Who's to say the others won't pick Bray's side in the fight?
I mean,
yeah, but you've never seen the others get physically involved. Ryan's the only one who would physically get involved. The others would stand back screaming, but
they wouldn't do anything.
Amber would probably try.
They might be like, "Stop it!" We've seen Amber. She never gets physically involved. She will yell. She'll watch. She has never once stepped in and into a fight and said, "This needs to stop."
I think that's exactly why Lex hasn't pushed Bray when Ryan hasn't been around, because I think he's aware that he might need that backup.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If only Lex knew that neither he or Bray will ever win a fight.
I'm just going to say we were robbed. We were robbed of a clean fight.
You didn't have to worry, Lex. It would always be a draw.
So what's our favourite quotes of the week? I am going to go with the conversation between Lex and Ryan. Obviously, again, about the money issue, where Lex says, "Oh, sorry, I forgot our world just crashed."
Lex, someone's stolen our money.
You better call the police then, quick.
Lex, don't be soft. There aren't any police.
Sorry, I forgot our world just crashed.
I love that line. It's such a good because he's mocking Ryan so much, and then he goes like, I was. Gone into, hasn't it? It's like
I don't know. The delivery of that line has always just bugged me. It just. I don't know what it is about that line. It's just one of those, it could have been delivered better, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's because Lex is still mocking him over the money. So he's just being completely sarcastic the whole time, and poor Ryan just doesn't get it. Because one of my favorite lines is what Ryan says after, "Lex, don't be soft, there are no police." He thinks that Lex is being the one who doesn't get it.
Oh,
Oh, Ryan, you poor little sweetheart.
My favorite line would have to be Jack saying, "She's not just a toy to pass around. She's a living, breathing thing."
She's not just a toy to pass around. She's a living, breathing thing.
Zandra, give Salene the baby. Be a good girl.
Yeah. Another insight by Jack here.
But it reminds me of something Amber said when they tried to vote her out. It was we're talking about a baby, not a dolly. And here we have Salene and Sandra arguing as if she were.
I also like this line that Amber says when they're all arguing about, again, rationing food and blah, blah, blah. Amber's talking to Lex, because he's asking, again, somebody for their food. And she says, you'd have the babies if she was on solids.
That's a good one.
You can have mine if you're really starving.
You'd have the baby's food if she was on solids.
There's one moment in this episode that, even though we haven't talked about it, it's something that says a lot about Amber, because when Bray tells her that Trudy's had it rough.
We've all had it rough.
Yeah, her response is, why? What makes her so special?
Oh, yeah.
She's had it rough.
Haven't we all?
No, in different ways from the rest of us.
Why? What makes her so special?
What makes her so special?
Quote.
Like, ooh, is that some of her petty jealousy?
Obviously.
Just a little bit. What makes her so special?
He's the look on Bray's face. He instantly goes, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Like, no, Amber, you shouldn't have. Hello?
Of course he had it rougher than most people. She was frigging pregnant at the end of the world.
Yeah, I did like that.
But I do love that, because I love when I get to see Amber, knight of all good,
I
be
like
petty
that
sometimes.
hers.
But again, thinking of that conversation, I get the sense that Amber is trying to suss out what the frick is going on with Bray, because the way she's talking to him. Think about it. This guy went missing, and now all of a sudden he won't leave her side. And I almost get the sense she's kind of being sarcastic when she's just like, you can take a break. I'll watch her. And he's like, no, it is my responsibility. And I'm wondering if she's trying to get a readout on this guy who 1 minute can be so indifferent and disappear without telling anybody what he's going to do and doesn't seem to care. And then the next, he refuses to get any sleep and he's staying by Trudy's side and he's so devoted. And it's like, what is your game? What is your deal?
And Hill, do you have a zinger from next this week?
You guys are going to hate it, but I don't care. Yes. It was only a friendly visit. I'll leave you two lovebirds to snog in peace.
Was there anything else you wanted?
That was only a friendly visit. I'll leave you two lovebirds to snog in peace.
I love that one.
That's cool. My favorite. I like that one. Because the line about the money and everything is so, like, mocking. Like, it's such a backhanded, like, pushing of the button. Like, it's not the glamorous, like, telling someone off or just telling them point blank. It's just coy.
Yeah, no, that was great. I love that line.
Okay, fine. Yay, I win.
Yay.
Cool. So that brings episode 7 to a close. Thanks to all the panel. And we'll see you next in episode 8. So thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.